This episode of Film Riot is brought to you by Domain.com. Today on Film Riot, we're taking another look at the GoPro Hero 3 to answer your questions. What happened over there?
I'm excited. I'm into it.
You're a little Mardi Gras?
I got chocolate.
Show me boobs.
I got chocolate.
Show me your boobs.
I'm not showing you my boobs. It's my birthday.
You're not getting any beads. Welcome to Film Riot, the show that takes the mystery out of the effects and techniques. Go to some of your favorite Hollywood films. I'm your host, Ryan Conley. Yep, that's exactly what I say. I say that
every time.
Every time. You're okay. So after last week's episode, I got a lot of questions about things that I did not cover with the GoPro camera. So today, I'm going to take a look at some of the most popular questions, like how does it compare to the image of the 5D? Why did the image look so bad? What about the slow-mo? And probably the most popular, how is the battery life? So let's do the do.
Like Mountain Dew?
Yeah. Now the first thing we're going to take a look at is image quality. A few people commented on the poor quality of some of the shots in the opening sketch, but as I said last episode, I did this camera no favors. I put it to the test to see what it could handle, which meant little light and next to no stabilization. With this camera, you really need to feed light into it to make sure you get the best image. For instance, here's a shot outside on the GoPro, plenty of light, and here's one from my 5D. Now the 5D is a clear winner here, but you can see that you'd be able to cut between the GoPro image and your 5D image in your edit for those specialty shots where we were talking about last week. But here's the thing, I currently have the GoPro set at 1080p, and I'm doing this so I can use the narrow view option and get rid of some of that lens distortion. Now the downside to doing this is that the image has much lower quality at 1080, so if I switch over to 2K and then add optical compensation like we showed last week, we see we have a much nicer image and one that comes much closer to the 5D. Next I want to test detail in a wide shot with objects in the distance, and here the GoPro did very well, came extremely close to the 5D, but the 5D still has a nicer image overall. Now again, one of the big reasons your GoPro image could be less than great is that lack of light. Although the H3 does 10 times better in low light than the H2, it's still not the best. For instance, take a look at this footage in 1080p mode. It's looking really ugly compared to our 5D footage. But again, if you switch over to 2K, the image gets far better and handles the low light pretty well. But again, this is not how you would use this camera. For me, this is just like the 5D. The 5D does great things for me, but it has a lot of downfalls. However, since I know those downfalls, I can easily work around them, like the rolling shutter, which I also tested against the GoPro. Here we have the GoPro and the 5D. The 5D definitely handles the motion better overall, but they come really close when we're talking about that skewing issue. And finally, as far as image goes, color grading. I found that there isn't too much room for grading since the camera adds on a pretty heavy correction of its own, including sharpening, just like the DSLR does without CineStyle or the neutral picture profile. You can, of course, color grade this footage, but there isn't nearly as much room or information as I get from my 5D on CineStyle. But those are the main image situation thingies that I felt like showing your faces on this day of days. And again, of course, the image of this camera does not hold up to the 5D in a side-by-side comparison. I mean, it can come close if you were just shooting large landscapes in bright sunlight, but anything else, the 5D is of course the superior camera. But as I said last week, this shouldn't be your main camera. It is a B cam or a crash cam to get those extra creative shots to really make your project feel that much more immersive. But now, we take a break and then look at the battery life and slow motion capabilities of this bad boy. So if you're looking to build a website like, I don't know, slingshotmetocanada.com.
That sounds awesome.
What? You like this idea?
That's your first idea.
Okay, hear me out. We get giant trees and giant guys. So we gotta find giants, like something Lord of the Rings style. We build a giant slingshot, or we could just do 2 buildings, and we get like giant slip and slides, and then the giant and then we go to Canada that way. It's cheaper, and we get to go to Canada.
I don't think it'll be cheaper. Finding giants and giant slingshots is not going to be cheap.
Well, if you want to set up a domain to try to get this website going, to get some people behind you who believe in your idea, you can go to domain.com to get your domain name and web hosting up and going. They got that domain discovery system, so if slingshotyourselftocanada.com is taken, they'll get, slingshot yourself to Canada by using giants, giant trees, maybe buildings, and a slip and slide would probably be better because it's cheaper.com. That's probably the domain discovery system we'll find for you because that makes the most sense to me. Also, if you want to make it cheap because you're saving money for your trip to Canada, use the coupon code FILMRIGHT at checkout to score 15% off your domain name and web hosting. So if you're looking to build a presence on the web or slingshot yourself to Canada, do it through domain.com.
Logo.
Okay, so first, let's check out the battery life, since this is definitely the one that I'm most interested in, since I've been hearing a lot of bad about the battery life, but I've been getting about an hour and a half to 2 hours, it seems, while shooting. So here we go. Here's my H3, which I'm going to run 24 frames per second, and I'll hit record, and here we go. After an hour, we have 1 bar left, and after around an hour and a half, the camera dies. So with straight record time, you have about an hour and a half on one charge, and when you're not recording non-stop, as we did when we did the sketch, you get around 2 hours. The Hero 2 hits about 2 hours record time before the battery dies, so you get about an extra 30 minutes. But honestly, for the upgrade I'm getting with the H3, that's a small complaint for me, though I can see how that would be huge for others. 30 minutes could be make or break it. Get the shot and or don't. Now off to shoot slow-mo goodness. As I said last week, you can shoot up to 120 frames per second in 720p, so I dropped to 720, click on 120 frames per second, and record away. Now this will play back in the frame rate you recorded it in, so you're gonna need to slow it down in post to get the speed that you want. One way that you can do this is with Cineform Studio from GoPro, which is a free download on their site, which you can get right here. But just bring in the clip, go into settings, change from 120 frames per second to 23.97, and convert. And there you have it. I also did another method where I took it into After Effects, then dropped on Twixtor, and then slowed it down that way. You can bring your converted files in as well, which are already slowed, add Twixtor to that, and then go super high speed slow-mo if you want. The downside to this, of course, is that you have to shoot in 720, but even at 720, you get some pretty fun effects like this shot, which could turn into one of those inspirational posters.
Success.
So encouraging. Thanks, Eris.
You're welcome.
So that's it for today and the GoPro, which pretty much wraps up the main issues and features of this cam, and I hope I answered all the additional questions you guys may or may not have had. If not, you can shoot me a question at my Twitter, twitter.com/Ryan_Conley, and I'll try to help you out if I can. And again, don't forget about the Film State Awards. We're in the last stages of voting, so go to filmstateawards.com and throw in your vote. 1 week left till we find out who the winners are on the first ever Film State Awards show, and only 4 days left to vote. The voting, when does the voting start? The 18th? It stops?
The 18th, yeah.
So make sure you get your vote in before then if you want your vote to count. And I'll see you guys next time when I become a congressman that manipulates his way to the top. Also, happy Valentine's Day.
Also, happy birthday, me.
And Josh.
Why are your eyes closed? I can't keep it open, it's too bright. What a baby. You stare into the sun and keep it open.